the estate director at Amista Vineyards, and we have Vicky Farrow, proprietor, and Ashley Herzberg, our illustrious winemaker, and our special guests, Marimar Torres and Christina Torres from Marimar Estates. Four amazing women in wine, ones that have been in the wine industry for a while, and others that are the new generation of women in wine. So let's get some wine in our glasses. We're going to start with the sparkling dash. There's nothing more festive than the pop of a bubble.
Everybody got wine?
Yeah, does everyone have wine in their glass?
Jill, you look very intense.
Some pink bubbly to start off. Can't go wrong.
Can't go wrong with that. And I think we should drink a toast to friendship, right?
Yeah. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
Let's do it.
Cheers.
I've known Vicky for what, decades, right, Vicky?
Oh, it feels like decades, Marimar.
Yeah, we haven't changed anything, but but I know it's been
Neither of you have aged a day.
I know. Isn't that great? No, we met, I don't really remember how long ago we met Marimar, but I know it was at a CEO roundtable, right?
Yes, absolutely.
For women winemakers, and you'd been in the business a long time, and I was just getting started. But the reason I was there is I was facilitating. I wasn't even there as a winemaker. Well, I've never been a winemaker. Let's just be clear. So anyway, it's been wonderful, and I treasure your friendship.
Me too. Cheers. Our friendship.
Cheers to that.
Mm.
So for the Amista participants, our friends Marimar and Christina, why don't you share a little bit about Marimar Estates? Here comes another guest.
Absolutely. We'll give you the brief attempt to be brief. Neither of us are usually very good at that. So our family has been making wine in Spain since the 17th century. And my mom moved to California in 1975 and moved here and started dreaming about making her own wine in California, and found this property and fell in love with it, purchased it in '83. And this is our original vineyard in the Russian River Valley in Sonoma County. And so one thing led to another, and our first, and by our, I mean her, first vintage was the '89 barrel fermented Chardonnay. Although I did come along the way in '88.
That's right.
And my mom thought, oh, starting a business in a foreign country on my own, raising a child on my own, yeah, why not? Let's roll with it. So that's just kind of her style. And wrote a few cookbooks along the way, and we now have a second vineyard in the Sonoma Coast as well. And so all estate grown, estate bottled wines.
And the Sonoma Coast Vineyard is named after my mother, because she was a great supporter. After my father died, she really convinced my brothers to get together with me and build a winery, which was built in 1992.
Yeah, so really early days for the Russian River Valley.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, there's a lot more. We'll get into a lot more fun stories and fun things.
Okay, if anybody wonders how could a Spaniard, come here to live in this country, I have to tell you that I got married to an American who happened to be a wine and restaurant critic. My father was horrified because not only I was moving far, thousands of miles away from the parental control, but also he had no money. But it was a pretty good life, and I learned a lot about wine from him.
Was not a suitable match in their eyes.
So anyway, he thought he foresaw, is that good?
Foresaw.
That I would be married 1 year, and I was married 4 years. So, you know. there you
Hey,
go.
you showed him.
Exactly, I showed him. And I decided to stay here. That's the end of the story.
That's great. And so the Marimar estate crew, Vicky, why don't you share a little bit about Amista?
Well, so you started in 1983, is that right?
Yeah.
So for us, the idea of having a winery was not even anything that we recognized. Mike and I, my husband and I got married in 1983. And we always say that having a winery was a dream that we didn't know we had and didn't know we shared until many, many years later. So we do have something started in 83, but it was an idea. And so what happened though was many years later, we were living in Silicon Valley. We had this really steep hillside that we didn't know how to landscape. And Mike saw a little ad in the paper that said backyard vineyards and said, oh, that would be kind of fun. So he planted 130 Cabernet Sauvignon vines. And 6 months later, it was time to harvest. And he thought, maybe I should learn how to make wine. And so he bought a half a ton of Cabernet grapes from a neighbor and made wine.
This was for you, you know. What's going on?
And so we then, 6 months after that, we never saw those vines produce fruit because I got a job offer in New Jersey. And so off we went to New Jersey. The wine obviously wasn't ready to put in bottles yet. So we took the barrel with us, put it in our basement. Can you imagine, Ashley?
No. I'm like horrified.
I know, you're horrified, right? So we would break down the barrel and put it into the, what do you call those? Carboys. And when our friends came a few years later, we'd bottle it up and it was good. So Mike thought, I must be a winemaker. And so that's how we started looking to come back to California and find a vineyard property. And then as soon as we got here, he made wine in the garage again, this time 3 tons.
Oh, 3 times.
You're getting a little out of hand. And one thing led to another. People said, oh, you should do this commercially. And so that's how we got in the wine business, totally by accident. It was, like I said, a dream we didn't know we had and didn't know we shared.
Wow. That's great. That's a good story. Ashley.
That's awesome. So actually, Ashley, why don't you, since you made these beautiful bubbles, why don't you tell us about them?
Yeah, so you guys are enjoying our sparkling Grenache right now. And when I started with Amista, I've known them a long time, almost 15 years, I think.
Yeah.
But I started making wine for them in 2011. And Mike and Vicky were making one sparkling wine at that time from their estate property. So they were the very first winery in Dry Creek Valley to be making estate grown sparkling wines. And when I showed up as another bubbles lover, along with Vicky, cheers to that, we decided to expand on that. The first wine we added was a Chardonnay, so a Blanc de Blanc. And a few years later, we had some Grenache grapes growing on the property. So we decided to make a sparkling Grenache. And honestly, it was a total stab in the dark. We didn't know how good it would be. And now it's like maybe my favorite wine. Although I say that about all the wines, so I'm not sure. But so we make this in the traditional method of making champagne. So we pick it about 19 or 20 bricks. Bricks is the unit of measurement of sugar. And that's really important. You harvest it a little bit earlier, and that keeps the alcohol low enough that it can go through a second fermentation and bottle, and the alcohol won't kill off the yeast. So the first fermentation is in a stainless tank. So we press the juice off the skins, and it ferments in a stainless steel tank, nice and cold, for about a month. And then we bottle it. So that bottle that each of you are holding, the wine was fermented in that bottle for secondary fermentation. And if you can see in your glass, there's really tiny, delicate bubbles coming up from the bottom. And that is the character that Method Champenois gives it. So because you're fermenting under pressure, you get these really tiny, delicate bubbles. It's called mousse. And you get this really tiny, delicate mousse. And that adds a lot of character without being like overwhelming, like soda bubbles or like, sparkling water or something. So after about a year in bottle for fermentation, we disgorge. So what that means is, the yeast actually die off and they settle out, and we put all of the yeast down into the neck of the bottle, and then we freeze it. And then we pull the cap off, and the ice plug with all of the sediment shoots out, which is very exciting. And very exciting. And
they make you wear safety glasses.
They do, and it's necessary. I feel like it could be dangerous.
Yeah.
And from there, we just top up the bottles and then add a little bit of dosage. And dosage means just a little bit of sugar added back. And all that sugar is there to do is to balance out the acidity. Because we're picking them so early, they do tend to be a little more puckery, a little more acidic in grapes. So we just balance it out just a little bit, and then we pop a cork in it, and it's ready to drink. So, yeah.
But all of our wines are brut or extra brut,
yes.
And sometimes we put no dosage in. So if it doesn't need that to make it full and balanced, we don't add it. So they're pretty dry. They're pretty dry.
It's very vintage dependent as to whether we add it all, but they're always in the brut category. So brut is dry in the, sort of champagne, register. And then a lot of times they're brut nature, and that means that no dosage is added. But again, we are in a warmer part of Dry Creek, so it's really vintage dependent. If the vintage is a little bit riper and the fruit's really ripe, then we don't add any dosage. So that's a fun thing to do. We all sit down and we do trials, dosage trials, and basically just taste a whole bunch of glasses of wine. And
It's
very
So I'm curious, especially, I'm sure the Amista people have all tasted sparkling Grenache. They're saying yes. But what about some of you who have joined us that are friends of Marimar and Christina? I'm curious to know how many of you have had a sparkling Grenache before. Anybody?
Good question.
Yes?
I'm wondering, I've had Cremant, I've had Cavas. Are any of those that particular grape?
Those are typically made of Pinot Noir and Chardonnay and Pinot Meunier as their base. Also in Spain, there are a whole bunch of different varietals that are used for the base wine of Cava. You can use, I don't know if I'm going to say this right, but Xarel-lo. And Macabao can be used. And also we do have a sparkling Movedra. And the reason that came about was because Movedra, or Mataro in Spain, is actually used as the base wine of some cavas. So you can use a lot of different varietals, but Grenache is a semi-unusual one. You don't come across it quite as often in base wines.
And Grenache in Spanish is garnacha. And what very few people know is that garnacha or Grenache and Cariñena or Carignan are of Spanish origin. They're not originally, they didn't originate in France, but originated in Spain.
Although some French people might disagree.
Might disagree.
As is typical.
But it's...
Well, that's okay.
Yeah. And Grenache, we use it in Spain for one of our wines, which is called Sangre de Toro. It's the blood of the bull. It's been a wine that I started in this country back in the, in the late 60s, and became a great seller in this country. So that one is Grenache and Carignan.
Huh.
Oh, that's cool.
No, I mean, this was the first time when you and I tried this wine, which was only like 6 months ago. It was the first time we had tried it, the sparkling Grenache.
Yeah, and it
really
made us
fun.
decide to join the club.
Yeah,
I know. Thank you. I know. It's a really unusual wine. I think it's Ashley's favorite. I check out the orders in the tasting room, and I see her. She pops in every so often and gets a couple more bottles.
Just for the social distancing outside with my friends, my girlfriends, and hanging out. It's like the perfect wine for that, which is what I did yesterday while my kids were doing Spanish tutoring.
So one of the things that both Amista and Marimar states is we love to pair wine with food. And I had the chance to watch some of Marimar and Christina's Spanish table episodes that were absolutely hysterical. I love the connection between the two of you. So Ashley, what would you pair with the sparkling Grenache? And then I'll say what we paired at Passport one year.
Yeah, so I was just telling Vicky before we got on here, and like I just told you guys, the sparkling Grenache is really good for just drinking all by itself. It's pretty delicious. But
She actually said it pairs with a porch swing.
yeah, I think I did say that. But it's actually a really versatile wine. Like Robert said, you know, we feel like sparklings sort of get pigeonholed into, you know, caviar, oysters, and sort of these very upscale pairings, but you can take them a lot of different directions. And just the other night, I have a lot of favas growing in my garden right now. So we had shelled favas plus fava greens, sauteed together with a bit of garlic and a bit of spring onion, and then a fresh pasta and just like a little bit of creme fraiche mixed in with that. And it was a really delicious pairing. And just with like some cracked pepper, and it just really brought out like the creaminess of the creme fraiche, sort of popped the like delicate sort of creaminess of the wine, and everything tied together really nicely. I always think this is a great springtime wine. It just really like it goes so well with so many things, you know, that are growing right now and available right now. So.
And when summer comes, we will say it's a perfect summer wine, right? And
Yeah,
And
it
Thursday
really is.
afternoon. So on one of your Spanish tables, you were doing a Spanish tortilla. And I can't say it very well. Tortilla español? Español?
yes, absolutely. Yes.
And actually during Passport one year, we paired this with a Spanish tortilla. Do you remember that?
Totally. It was delicious.
It was so good.
Actually, we're going to have some for dinner.
Okay. Perfect. Look at
I
that.
love it.
How did you know?
Just like that. We were just reading each other's minds. I'll put the link in the chat for these recipes too.
So for those of you on, what would you pair this with? For those food pairers.
Elizabeth, I bet you have some ideas.
Well, I was going to say, for me, a sparkling wine is the perfect opener. I mean, that's how I start every, you know, and then a white of some kind, and then a red. But to me, a sparkling wine, a champagne, you know, anything with bubbles is like, it's a party. Let's begin.
I totally agree. And Ashley and I are also on a mission to help everybody understand that sparkling wines can be the wine for the meal, not always just the starter. So sometimes it goes beautifully and it's nice and light, not as much alcohol as some of the reds, especially in the summertime. It's really nice to have a sparkling wine with your whole dinner. I thought when you said a nice opener, I thought you meant like for breakfast.
It's good for that too.
Which is good too.
I guess, you know, there's the classic mimosa takes advantage of that.
Yeah, mimosa for me, just hold the orange juice.
Yeah.
Ashley. Yeah, so
I think
yeah,
this
I had
would be very good.
sparkling wine with Thai food last night. It was delightful.
Oh yeah.
That's a great
And I
idea.
was going to say with
So we
sushi,
have with
it works
popcorn.
very well with sushi.
Is that Margaret?
Yes,
Your camera's not on.
sushi.
Good. Yeah, sushi. Yes.
Oh, sorry, let me put the camera on.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Sushi's a great one.
Sushi.
Oh, there you
And
are.
then you eat it right through the meal.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah. And the sparkling Syrah that we make is also really good with sushi or Thai food.
Yeah, that one pairs really well with something that has a bit of spice to it,
Mm-hmm.
a little bit of kick. So
And I
that one-
Christina put the recipe to their Spanish tortilla in the chat box too.
Now they
Great.
should be able to hear us.
We can hear you, Bill.
All right. Still learning how to use the Zoom thing.
Can you see him?
You know, I have a story. I remember when I was married with my wine critic husband, and we made, I forget the super chateau of champagne. Anyway, I forget who. But I remember that he invited us to lunch, and we had a whole lunch with a beautiful, his beautiful champagnes. And I only remember that the first course was the best caviar. So there you go, right? It's for sure goes well.
That's right.
Okay.
Well, I am dying to taste
Me too. I can hardly wait.
a Barino blend. And Christina, let's talk about that.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Yeah, of
So
course.
we've got our 2018 Chardonnay Albarino blend. So it is 60% Chardonnay and 40% Albarino. And it is, the Chardonnay is unoaked as well as the Albarino. And this wine, well, the origin of this wine is actually dates back to 09 was the first vintage, right?
Yep.
So, well, actually, first my mom planted Albarino of our 2 vineyards. She planted it at our Sonoma Coast vineyard because Albarino is a cool climate, well, from Galicia in northwest Spain, which is the coolest, rainiest part of Spain. So my mom thought, okay, between Russian River and Sonoma Coast, let's go Sonoma Coast. But it was actually cold in California is too cold. So it didn't quite ripen there. So we moved it over to the Russian River. And so our first vintage was our 09. And we didn't have enough.
Our first harvest.
First harvest
Yeah.
was 09. And it wasn't enough for a full press load. So they made the decision to blend it with some Chardonnay. And the club members loved it. Then the next vintage, the 2010, we didn't make the Chardonnay Albarino. We made the 100% Albarino. And our club members said, hey, what happened to this Chardonnay Albarino? So we learned our lesson. We've been making a little bit for our wine club members ever since. And it's a fun blend of, because with Albarino, you get these beautiful aromatics, this really floral, like nice stone fruit. Really, it's really fragrant. And then with the Chardonnay, it adds more roundness, perhaps a little more body to it. So they make a really, really fun pairing together.
Now, the interesting thing to note is that you can see that I brought the cuttings over from Spain in 2004. So and I started, organizing it to come here in 2003. So it takes you 7 years to produce a wine if you want to make it from your own grapes. And so that's what it took. Actually, God, it's, I think that you have to have either patience, which I don't have at all, right? Or longevity. So I hope I have longevity, because this business of making wine from your own grapes is very time consuming and very long.
Yep.
But here it is.
So Marimar, I've never heard of a Chardonnay Albarino blend. Does anyone else make that? Is it common?
Not that I know, and definitely not in Spain. Not in Spain.
All right. That's very cool.
Yeah.
That's fantastic that you shared this with your club members, and they were the ones that encouraged you to do.
Yeah, and when you taste it, you can see why, right?
So Marimar and Christina, we are here, Rita and I, and we are using our Riedel glassware from the Riedel tasting, okay? Which was, for the rest of you, absolutely outstanding, and you would be amazed what a difference a good glass will make. So we are tasting Barino Chardonnay glass, as well as in, a more narrower focused glass, okay? Which would you suggest? Besides what?
Which do you like best? I want to know which one you like best.
It's interesting because there's a totally different nose from the larger bowl of the Chardonnay glass versus the narrower focus of the Sauvignon Blanc glass or whatever you want to call this glass. So, you know, typically when I drink your Albarino, I drink it in this glass. When I drink the Chardonnay, I drink it in this glass. But I have never tried side by side the Chardonnay Albarino in both glasses. So we're thinking maybe we like the more open because of those and the access and just out of curiosity.
Well, okay, I'm gonna try. I'm gonna see which one I like better, right?
Yeah, good.
Oh yeah, this one, definitely, the Chardonnay glass.
Yes. And for those of you who haven't tried this, I mean, it is actually, but the science is scary. So please do so when you have an opportunity.
Okay, so we need to go to the next wine, right?
Well, we were going to talk about a suggested pairing
Oh.
for the Chardonnay Albarino,
That's right, sorry.
which
Christine sent out some cheese recommendations to the Marimar clan.
yes. Of the cheeses, let's see, between the soft manchego, the aged manchego, and the Cabral Vino, which do you think?
Definitely the soft manchego for this wine. But the Cabral Vino, the Cabra de Murcia, the Murcian cow with wine, I think also would go very well.
And I've sent through the link to our zucchini cake Christina recipe, which is a great dish with our Chardonnay Albarino. It's a savory zucchini, like egg-based dish with fresh ricotta cheese and zucchini, kind of like, call it like a quiche, but without the pastry or anything.
It's more like a flan. God, I hate it.
Yeah,
when
but people
French-
think sweet when you say flan.
No.
It's not like a souffle. It's not puffy.
No.
Or like a frittata? Is it like a frittata?
Those French have
Mom
all
doesn't
Italian.
approve of frittata
No.
either
Oh,
because French. So
Just because the French and the Italians did a much better promotional job with their food doesn't mean copy them, right?
yes.
So I'll say that this is more of a flan or a cake. You know, in Spanish it would be pastel.
Yeah, but in English, cake implies sweet.
I know, that's why I said.
yes, I agree with you, Chris.
Anyway, but the reason
Marimar.
Well, there's like potato cakes and, you know, there's savory cakes.
But the thing is that the name Christina for this recipe comes because I came up with the recipe when I was writing my second book, and Christina was 2 years old or so, and I wanted her to get used to eating vegetables, right? And so everything in it is really healthy, like Christina said, you know, some egg, onion.
It's very easy too.
Ricotta
Very easy.
cheese, salt and pepper, and it's really easy to make. Yeah.
Great as a first course or as lunch.
So
Sounds delicious.
since we're talking about women in wine and we have the new generation, Christina, I wanted to pose a question to you. So growing up in the wine industry with a long family history in wine, how do you think that has shaped you and your thoughts about the future of women in wine?
Well, it certainly has shaped me in that my family heritage and the winery here are inextricably linked with just who I am and how I was raised from you know, before I could walk, I was by my mother's side when she was, you know, working, promoting the wines, traveling. So it's just, it's always been a part of my life. And it's always been very clear to me that I wanted to carry on my mother's story here in Sonoma County and continue her legacy.
And frankly, I never thought she would, because I, you know, love my work, and you know what they say, when you find a job that you love, you will not work a day in your life. That's me with my business. So of course I was, you know, working late hours and, you know, weekends and such, and traveling for business. But I would also always take Christina with me. She started coming with me on my first trip her first trip when she was 3 months old. She went with me to South Africa because I was at that anyway, I was the speaker at the auction of whatever, and she came with me. And then from then on, I was very lucky. That's the truth. I mean, she was very good. So she would just, bring her books. She loved to read, or her coloring books. And then when she got tired, she just went to sleep. So it made it easy. But I thought, oh, she'll never want to inherit the business, but she does. And in Spain, by the way, the business has been handed down from father to son for today is the fifth generation. But here it will be the first time from mother to daughter. How's that for a feminist? Here's how I went to that.
And Marimar, one thing I've always really respected about you, and people won't get this from the story you just told, is Christina didn't just start with her coloring books and then move into the winery and never do anything else. She's had many other jobs. She's worked outside of the US. She's done lots of other things. So that just makes you, Christina, so well prepared to come back to the family business and add all of this experience that you've gotten elsewhere. And I just think that's amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you. I mean, we're so blessed to be in this business, and there's a lot to learn and see and do, and I'm really fortunate to
Vicky, what I wanted for her is what I think normally want for our children. You want what you didn't have. And when I was living in Spain, Franco, the dictator that ruled Spain for 35 years, he died 20 days after I came to live here. So Franco's Spain was very different from today's Spain. And women were literally second-class citizens. In some provinces, you couldn't sign your testamento, your will without your husband. I mean, things like that. And it all has changed. But in those days, I knew that I would never have an important role in the business because I was a woman, and I was never allowed to study to get a real college degree. I studied a minor. Well, it's a long story, but essentially what I thought is, okay, Christina, go to college and apply for the best schools. And she got to go to Princeton. And then I said, okay, and we agreed on that, go out, go to Europe, someplace, with that motherly influence and do whatever, right? She started with fashion, right? Anyway, and then she went to work for, a distributor in the UK and so on. And then she went to get her MBA at Wharton. So that's what I would like, for my daughter. And it worked very well.
Yeah, all those experiences are great, and that's what's shaped the wonderful you, Christina, today.
Thank you.
So I am a huge Pinot Noir fan, and I can't wait to taste it. Let's go into that.
Right. And I have my Pinot Noir glass there.
I can say my favorite wine is the one that's in my glass.
Okay. The La Masia Pinot Noir. And La Masia means farmhouse in Catalonia. So I named this wine after the style that the winery is built in, which is the style of a Catalan farmhouse. And really, the idea to me is that we make wines as a result of farming the vineyard. We want for the vineyards for the vines, the grapes, to express their personality, right? So we're farmers, first of all, and that's why, a farming ranch, it was a good image. So anyway, this is the second wine that I made. First in 1989, I had made a Chardonnay without a winery, right? That's another story, but I don't have time to tell you. But then in 1992, I was able to build a story, as I said, thanks to my mother.
Build the winery.
Okay, yes, sorry. Thanks for correcting me. I need her. And so built the winery and made the first Pinot Noir. And it's been really made the same way from the same grapes. And I think that if in anything we have changed or hopefully improved has been more than anything in the vineyard. Really getting to know our vines like they were our children. I always say that vines are grapes, no vines, like children. You have to give them what they need, not what they want. And the same with wine, with the grapes. You know, you have to really know what they need and give them that, and not too much, not too little, right? So anyway, this is I think a classic Russian River Valley wine with all these voluptuous, bright fruit in the nose, like cherries, right? Dark cherries.
Oh, it's delicious.
It's definitely a come hither wine.
Mhm, mhm. It's my go-to red wine when I work late. Oh, I never do. But anyway, if I ever do, I feel
She
like
was being sarcastic.
I feel like I deserve a glass of wine, and maybe a red wine. That's the one I will go to because it's
Your favorite descriptor is yummy
exactly
for this wine.
exactly yummy, absolutely.
You even had it on your license plate frame. Yummy Pinot
Yes,
Noir.
I had my license plate that said yummy Pinot Noir until one day I did
You're
something.
gonna tell that story?
Yeah,
Uh-oh.
I did something.
I
Not
realized once I
appropriate.
said it, you were gonna tell that story.
So I did something I'm gonna tell, even though you don't want me to, inappropriate, and then turns out to be somebody who knew me. And when I saw him or her, I was told, "Oh, I saw you. That was not very nice. It was your wine because it said, yummy Pinot Noir, right? Marimar. It had my name on it. Anyway, never again."
Marimar, I had the same thing happen when I had an Amista. I had an Amista license plate, which like I don't have anymore. But I pulled. There was this woman in Healdsburg, and she was trying to turn left into a parking place, which is not legal, of course. And I just pulled into the parking place because it was on the right, which is where I was. She went down the block, came back, pulled in, started yelling at me, told me she was never coming to my winery again. And I was like,
Oh no. Yeah, I guess both parties have learned to not use.
yeah. Well, maybe I shouldn't have done that either.
My Marimar.
Is that the learning though? I don't know.
I'm not sure.
My Marimar license plate is filed away in a corner of my office, as a memory. So
anyway, we digress.
That's right. Okay, pairing for this.
Yeah, so pairing the cheese that you suggest for this one.
Well, let's see. Oh, mushrooms. I mean, I love mushrooms with wine. And I have from my second book, I think, from the Caroline Country. These are the books. Okay, this is the Caroline Country Kitchen. And this is the Spanish table. Spanish table is the first one. Caroline Country Kitchen is the more consumer friendly, was my second one. And it's a mushroom flan. Flan, okay? Not souffle, not frittata, flan, okay?
And I'm putting the link in the chat. This one, I mean, I love all of my mom's food, shocker, but mushrooms, I adore. And this dish is so good. And the sauce is just like finger licking good. So good.
Uh-huh. And you put actually some cream sherry in it.
Yeah.
So,
and it's good as a side dish, as a first course. They're beautiful little flans.
Yeah, and goes in with a port wine sauce,
which is so good.
Yeah, it would go.
You all pair with Pinots because we don't make Pinots, so I don't drink a lot of Pinots, but I bet a lot of you do. So, what are your favorite things to pair?
Lamb.
Ginsburg.
Lamb.
Lamb, yes, of course.
I actually think it's really delicious with salmon.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Salmon is such a, succulent, meaty fish that I think the red wine is a really great pairing.
Yeah.
Duck, of course, duck and Pinot Noir.
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
68% Dominican Hispanic dark chocolate and 68% Peru dark milk.
Yes.
I like the dandelion trait Vietnam with Pinot. I'm not a huge Pinot fan. This is delicious.
It's delicious.
It's probably up there now as one of my favorite wines. I'm a big old cab, wonderful blends. I like Grenaches. This is outstanding.
Oh, good.
Yummy is a perfect.
So aren't the two of you coming to visit soon?
We are. Our trip is the July 23rd to August 7th, and I think we're going to be by you with the latter end.
Yeah, we're gonna miss the dinner because the dinner's
Oh, shoot.
the 7th, and we're not gonna be there the 7th, but we're coming before that anyway. So yes,
The bummer you're missing the dinner, but I
Yeah.
think you should make a plan to go see Marimar. And
we just said that. We just texted each other that I think we want to add this onto our to-do list.
just
It wasn't there
texted
before.
I just texted the woman who's assisting, and she's, we're picking. She's like, "How did you come with Amista? Where did you?" I'm like, She goes, "How did you even know that winery?" And I start reeling off the wine. She's like, "That's amazing." She goes, "I'll have to add that one on."
So we will let you know when we're on our way or before, so we can make plans
we'll
to be there and see you, hopefully.
Just so you know, Marimar makes the best Pinot
Outstanding.
in Sonoma. But she also will be releasing a Godello on the 17th of July.
Yes.
You can put that in your schedule. If you've never had a Godello, I would say please do so, because she's fabulous. All of
you hear that, Lori? I don't know what that is, but we'll be drinking.
I don't know what it is, but we're gonna try it. This is what this trip's all about. It's supposed to be my 50th birthday trip, and then obviously lots of things happened in the world the last couple of years. So we're doing it, and we will be there and experimenting, hopefully, and exploring adventures.
Just so you know, July is a significant birthday for me, and I plan on spending time with my sisters. Are coming from Massachusetts, and we're planning to visit Marimar on the 14th. I haven't made that reservation yet. Marimar, Tina. My two sisters, one has a more significant birthday. She's older than I. But we're all together in July, and we will spend time at Marimar. And I would suggest that anyone who comes to Napa, I live in Napa, comes to Sonoma, should visit Marimar Winery. So that's my.
When's your birthday in July?
July 16. It's not on your calendar. It's the most important day.
I asked because mine's July 26th. So
that's the 26th. That's why we picked these dates so that we can be there.
I can beat you. My oldest sister's birthday is the 15th. Mine's the 16th, and my brother's the 17th. And now I'm going to be muted, so I don't say anything else.
We're not discussing ages. The only good thing I could say is, for me, luckily, it's not a major birthday. Thank God.
Soon. Oops.
Shush.
July 26th. Brother that has the 17th of July as well. So a lot of July.
Really? So is there anything going on like in that first week or two that we should know about, that we should try to plan for with these two vineyards?
Which month are you talking?
So we're coming July 23rd through August 7th, but we're going to be by you guys the first week.
We have our flamenco.
No?
Our flamenco dinner in August.
We're leaving we're leaving out of Sacramento on the 1st or 2nd, Lori. That's
okay.
We go up north.
So we'll be in the latter part of, so from the 1st to the 7th.
So the 1st to the 7th, you won't be there. 1st to the 7th, you'll be in Willamette Valley.
Sorry. So from the 23rd to the 1st. So we won't be there on the 1st because we're leaving. Got it. She's doing all the planning. I'm just going.
Marimar, you were saying something about
yes.
Elizabeth, yes. I have since you like salmon, and I do too with Pinot Noir.
Can't hear her.
Recipe in my first book.
Marimar, we can't hear you.
Can't hear you.
Here.
You can't hear us? Really?
No.
Can you? Mama, we couldn't hear your mom.
Now?
Yes.
Not good.
I have a recipe for salmon in red wine.
Oh.
It goes so well with Pinot Noir. So in my first book, which Elizabeth, I know you have my books. So there you go.
Well, we'll make sure that we get things organized for you so that you can do the Spanish tapas at Marimar and Bubbles and the whole vineyard tour and everything at Amista. We'll spend some time.
Maybe on Jill's birthday, the 26th.
Forever 21, right, Jill?
Forever 21.
Oh, yeah. You know what? I think I'll take the little bit older, because the knowledge and the wisdom comes with that, you know?
Robert, Maybe next time instead of the, what?
I can't pass for 21 anymore. 29 will be just fine, thank you.
I'm just thinking, Robert, next time, instead of putting their location, maybe we should have them put their month and day of birth, and then we can see what other things we have in common.
Month and day. I like that.
Yeah,
Month and
no
day.
year, no
No,
year.
no, month and day. Oh, we can do like a horoscope reading, you know, we can have,
Oh, come on.
joking, but and Lori knows I'm a very literal individual, so I don't get that stuff, but
Maybe we should just put the age we feel.
Oh, well, 36.
150. I don't know if that's possible.
Robert,
You just got your shot, so
Depends
that might.
It varies from moment to moment, the actual,
age.
the perceived.
Yep. Some moments you feel like you're youth, and then other moments you're like, how'd I get here, right?
I'm dying to try this wine,
The
Robert.
GSS?
Yes, let's go on.
Oh, it's godlike. So.
Now, this is my go-to wine.
Which is this?
Okay, I want to taste it.
Lori,
The one I don't have?
that's the one I got sitting right here.
Robert, what happened?
I have no idea, but I'll take care of you.
Yeah, don't worry, Lori. I'll have Trace for you tomorrow when you come. Go get me. Stop. Don't worry. I'll take care of you.
Vicky, I thought this was Mike's go-to wine.
Well, it is, okay, yeah, that's true. It is Mike's go-to wine, and it's my second go-to wine, because my first go-to wine is Blanc de Blanc, as you well know.
Oh. Love the
So
one.
the way this wine came about, you know, I started with them now it's gonna be 11 years ago. And winemakers love to blend. And it's like the most fun thing to do. And when I showed up, Mike and Vicky were like, well, everything is 100% vintage, vineyard, and varietal. And I was like, oh, well, shoot.
You never said the
That's
time.
not very fun. I said it internally. And so we decided to, you know, explore making a GSM blend. So this is the Grenache Syrah and the Mourvedre blend. And, you know, Vicky was I feel like you were on board.
I don't know if I was on board or not.
I know Mike definitely was not.
Mike was not on board.
He was like, no, I'm never going to drink that. But we started playing around, and like with many things we do here, it was at the counter that we're sitting at right now. We do lots of blending and tasting right here in Mike and Vicky's house. And we started playing around with blends, and it was delicious. So this is all estate grown. I think the first vintage was 2013, right?
Was it? I don't remember.
I think it was 2013. In that first year, we did 1/3, 1/3, and 1/3 of Grenache, Syrah, and Mourvedre. And each of these varietals sort of brought their own like big party to the table. The Syrah was the backbone. It was, you know, the oomph behind it. The Mourvedre brought this intensity of fruit, this really intense cherry, you know, really specific fruit character to the wine. And the Grenache was the whole nose. So that orange blossom, orange zest, spice nose, this really pretty, delicate bouquet on the nose. And it was so pretty. It was so delicious. It's got the palate weight sort of more leaning towards the Pinot, a little bit bigger than the Pinot that we last had. But my favorite part about this wine, as Robert and Vicky and anyone who's hung out with me for more than a few minutes knows, that I love to eat, and this goes with everything. And it is so fun. It's such a fun wine. Like, I don't think I found the limit of what you compare with this. Like everything goes with it, and it's so good. So we pick each varietal separately and ferment them separately and only blend them right before bottling. It's unfined, unfiltered, all neutral oak, so no new oak on this, just to really let those three varietals shine. And I think the most surprising thing was that Mike Vicky's husband was a big red drinker. He has like an aversion to Pinots, although I think he would like your Pinot so much. Marimar
He
and
calls
Christina.
he calls them girly wine.
Girly wines. And this I always say has, more of a palate weight of like a bigger Pinot. And this is his favorite. Like, I'm pretty sure we have to make like an extra amount of cases just for like Mike's allocation.
Yep.
So it's been really fun to have it. And yeah.
But this is actually about women in wine. And it's like, look at what the two of you have done, actually the four of you have done for your brands to create what they are today.
Yeah, like convincing somebody's husband. I mean, that's a big deal. But Ashley's really good at it. She's very patient. Unlike Marimar, she's very patient. If the first year she doesn't get what she wants, she just keeps saying, well, maybe we could think about this. And when Mike and I fight and we express different opinions on things, she always says, I agree with both of you.
I think that is one of my most used lines.
Yes.
in our meeting.
And that's how she ends up getting what she wants.
Yeah, basically it's just so that I get my way. Very good partnership. It's been working well for a long time.
How did you get into wine, Ashley?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I am from the Tahoe and Reno area, and my parents were wine drinkers, and they would drink these very over-oaked, not that there's anything wrong with that, but over-oaked Napa cabs. They were very into that. And we always had wine at the table, and we're a very boisterous, big family, and so it was always a part of our lives, but I never thought that I would go into it. I wanted to be a doctor. So I studied chemical engineering, and literally the only reason that I studied chemical engineering, I signed up for all my classes as an undeclared major. I don't even know if I told you this.
No,
Sorry.
I haven't heard this.
I signed up for all my classes as an undeclared major, except I only chose math and chemistry classes because those were like the fun ones. I didn't want to take any English or like any like hard classes.
Hard classes. See, for me, it's the other way around.
Yeah. Only wanted to take fun classes, and I got this brochure in the mail that was like, you should consider chemical engineering. And I was like, I've never even heard of that. And I ended up taking the intro to chemical engineering class and switched my major to that because it was literally all chemistry and math classes, and it was very fun if you like that kind of thing. So yeah, so I wanted to go to medical school, and I worked in a hospital during all of college. I worked in wound care, so cleaning wounds and injuries and things like that, which was also so fun. But I didn't, I'm from Tahoe. I like being outside. I like snowboarding, and I like hiking and biking, and being in a hospital is very challenging for a person that likes to be outside. So I didn't really know what I was going to do. So I had this degree, and I decided to go to grad school, but I was going to take one semester off to work a harvest. And one of my professors had recommended that. And so I got a job at a winery in Sebastopol, and I was going to stay for just one harvest. And I think on day one, we were like scrubbing, because winery work is 90% cleaning and 10% anything else. And we were cleaning the entire day, and I was like, this is terrible. I'm ready to go back to school. And on day two, we got to go into the vineyards and taste through blends and trials. And I called my parents, and I was like, guys, I am going to work in the wine industry forever. And also I'm forklift certified. And it's so exciting.
That was on day two?
That was on day two. I got forklift certified. And my dad was like, I could have forklift certified you. Why did we put you through college? And I've been completely in love with the industry ever since. I can't even believe that I got so lucky as to find what I was meant to do when I was 22 years old. And I've loved every minute of it, except for a few bottling days, but mostly every minute of it.
So actually, Ashley, that was part of the question that I was going to ask you. But the other part is, what are your thoughts about the female impact on the future of the wine industry?
Yeah, so here's the thing. That's a hard question because I feel like the road was paved very nicely for me by the time that I got here. So I worked with some amazing female winemakers in my first vintage, Carol Shelton and Mary Edwards, that had gone through really challenging things in being a woman and being a winemaker in this industry. And I got there and felt much more accepted. And that's not like wholly true. There were a few bad apples in my experience, but I would say that actually I feel like the men that I've worked with have been just as supportive as the women that I've worked with. And that feels really exciting. Before I started with Mike and Vicky, I worked for a winery, and for better or worse, and sometimes worse, the women were treated no differently than the men. And that does feel really refreshing. So I think going forward, my goal has been for my career and will continue to be to just support women and their place in this industry. I think a lot of times, we're looked at as well, not as strong. So, it's harder to do punch downs and things like that in the cellar. But really, that's not true. I'm not going to say that for myself. I have no upper body strength. But I worked with an amazing woman, and now she's an assistant winemaker and has her own label. And, she could do punch downs and breakthrough caps that none of the guys could. And so I just think it's sort of breaking those stereotypes, and the little bit that we can do that, those stereotypes.
Ask a question.
Going, just sort of opening people's eyes to, just because it's been done one way doesn't mean that it has to be continue to be done that way.
Question: as a female, winemaker, the people working in the vineyards are generally of a Mexican, Spanish heritage. And so I would think you'd be working, those are the guys who, I was watching someone at Marimar's last week as he was plowing in between the rows and working the vineyards. I would have loved to go up and talk to him and ask him questions, or just about what he's doing. And, so, is it important to really have a second language, in Spanish?
Very helpful, I'll tell you that, because, we have a meeting every week with our vineyard manager. And
Bonnie's saying it's her dinner time. Excuse.
Yeah, give her some wine too. So where was I? Someplace.
Second language, Spanish.
No, having the second language as a winemaker.
The vineyard manager, who's American, the vineyard foreman who's Mexican, and I. And the thing about the Mexicans, they're at least at our winery, they want to be pleasant. Okay, so as a result, many times he doesn't know what he was said, but he says yes, and then I say,
yeah.
Are you sure you mean yes? Because blah 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 in Spanish. No. So
okay.
Yeah, especially in the vineyard.
But they're so tremendously skilled. I mean, I can speak for. I think all the vineyard teams. Our team, they are the same 8 gentlemen that work with us year round. The majority of them have been with us for over 15 years. And they're just tremendously skilled. The way that their pruning technique, the speed and the harvesting, and they know the vines, they understand the vines, and it's so impressive,
Mm-hmm.
Never complain.
Yes.
Always, but that's it. Don't complain.
No, they're just tremendous. In terms of the care in the vineyard and the quality of the fruit, they're so important to us because it is absolutely crucial. We do the care of the vineyard. Our wines are made in the vineyard, which is a little cliche perhaps, but they're just such an important part of our team.
Yeah, that's so true, Christina.
We need to take some Spanish at the JC.
Yeah, really. Yeah.
And you see, our vineyard is planted.
It's mandatory in Florida, so I mean.
So our vineyard is planted in the European style of very high density, meaning that we have, let's see, 2,000 plus.
A lot faster here.
Which is about 4 times
down here.
the
High density.
the old style planting in California, which means that your vines require much more care because you really need to have the vineyard in balance. Otherwise, you'll get a jungle. And that's, not everybody can do that. And they really do a great job. They know this vineyard. They know, the vineyard so well.
Yeah.
And, it's a pleasure to work with them. Yeah.
So we have just a few more questions. Is everybody okay for another 5-10 minutes?
Okay.
Okay, I see lots of head
I
nods.
understand it, by the way. Diane would understand that, but not until 5:30.
Marimar, I can't hear you again.
Oh, what happened?
Mom's got tennis plans, but we're good for another 5 or 10 minutes. So.
Okay, I heard that.
It's early for you all.
I have to tell you, this totally warms my heart, and I'm having so much fun listening to the conversation, and Ashley and Vicky and Marimar and Christina. I just want to drive it back to the trace that is Mike's favorite, Vicky's favorite, and I have to say it's one of my favorites. So Ashley, pairing wise, because I have a Marimar Torres pairing that I think would be quite lovely with this. What would you pair with it?
Everything. It sort of depends on the season. I feel like this is a wine that can go from season to season really well. This can go with anything from like a really crispy skinned porchetta, which I just had the fatted calf over in Napa. They have porchetta with this, and it was incredible. So I highly recommend, if you were ever over there, getting a little bit of porchetta and having that. But I also think, you can have this with, just more roasted vegetables or something from the grill. I mean, it's kind of endless to me. It's really a versatile wine. It even goes with like sort of more pasta sauces and things like that.
We do a lot with pasta.
Yeah. Or even with things that you think need a heavier wine, like something, like a bolognese or things like that. It goes really well with. So.
Well, isn't that interesting? Because with Marimar's recipes, I picked out, and I will absolutely slaughter it, but I'm going to say it in English. It's charcoal grilled Mediterranean vegetables with a romesco sauce.
Oh,
so,
romesco. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Love that dish. That sauce is just like, it's glorious. It's smoky, and you have like the smoked peppers and tomato and olive oil and toasted almonds, and it's just
and there's
glorious.
So many versions. You can do it with fresh peppers, with how do you call those Mexican style peppers? And anyway, dried peppers, right? Which in Spain there's some really good ones. But these days you can find. There's a wonderful place called the Spanish Table, which, by the way, they had to ask me for using the name because, of course, my first book was the Spanish Table.
Oh, yeah.
Name before the store. So they called me, and said, "Would you mind if we use the Spanish Table?" I said, "Okay, fine." Yeah, I should use for
some royalties. I don't know. Something.
Yeah, some caviar or something.
Marimar, Christina, you've got to do more cooking classes, because I at my age, I didn't know how to cook, and I felt like a professional chef because everything that I made along with you guys came out perfection. My neighbors were so happy every Friday night. We'd be gathering in between the yards, and we would be feasting.
We've loved having you cook along with us. And for those who haven't joined us, we have now every first Friday of the month, no longer weekly. Despite my mom's intense dismay, first Fridays of the month, we hop on Facebook Live, and I'll post the recipe a few days before. And,
All right.
lots of fun together. And I'm always just asking questions. And my mom is the one who actually knows about cooking. I'm just the one who asks questions.
But she does all the work, and I have all the fun.
Christina, is it possible to send out the links that are in the chat?
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll do.
We're gonna, Christina and I talked about, we're gonna share each other's email address and contact information so that we can continue the conversation. The other is that, much like the Spanish table, we do a virtual tasting and food and wine pairing experience called Let's Be Friends with one of our very dear friends, Beth Bollinger, who is a health and wellness specialist. And she creates a recipe that is paired with one of our wines, and we do it every other month. And we send out the recipe ahead of time so you can prepare it and we taste it together. It's really a sensational experience. So much like, you know, these virtual experiences, reach out to Marimar and Christina and engage in the Spanish table, and, you know, reach out to us on our virtual experiences. We have a lot of really fun things coming up with chips and dips and simple bites and bubbles and trivia night. So it's all about friendship. And Marimar and Christina, you are very dear friends with Amista, and we so value that relationship that hopefully we can do things like this again in the future and bring collectively together all of us who share in these experiences. You know, one of the things that Christina and I talked about were, you know, the important thing to us is that we get wine in your glasses, and together, you know, if you can purchase 6 bottles or more, and you can go to amista.com or you can go to marimarestates.com, we've put in a promo code that is Women in Wine, and it's a $10 shipping on 6 bottles or more. Or you can reach out to us through Marimar, Marimar or Club of Marimar at marimarestates.com or club@amistavineyards.com. Or go to our websites and see the virtual experiences that are happening and join in, because we have several that are consistent joiners in our virtual experiences. You know, we're in interesting times, and we've always, you know, tried to figure out how we can connect with people near and far. And this is such a great way to do it and have interaction. And you interact in your own way. You can just be there as a participant and listen or ask questions or what have you. But this is such a great experience. And Christina, Marimar, this was awesome. I can't tell you how much we appreciate it. Vicky, Ashley, you are superstars. You know, it's all about making friends.
Oh, it's been so lovely. And I don't want to forget, let's take a photo, please.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I have to get one more glass. Hold on.
Get wine, Robert, get wine.
A bottle or two. Yeah. Can you?
I don't see us here. Bill, this is Bill. I don't see a picture of us on the screen.
Turn on your video.
Turn on your video. We want to get you in the picture.
Where at?
Video, somewhere on a video.
Uh-oh. Well, I'm gonna try and put it on.
Oh, there we are.
Oh, we're there. Petey, come here and join us.
Diane.
Petey's here. We're at Petey's house.
Wait, put your screen down.
3. We'll take it just in case. Okay.
Okay, Diane and Bill, bring it down a little bit. 'cause we can't see you.
2.
How do we do that? Oh, sorry. Can't figure it out. I'm stupid.
You got like your eyebrows.
Press your eyebrow.
Are we in?
No.
Your hand is in.
Yeah.
That's my better part.
Beautiful.
Oh, shoot. What a shame.
We'll get it figured out. It's been kind of a crazy day.
Well, you guys are a great group. This has been so much fun. And thank you, Marimar and Christina, Ashley, Robert. Very cool.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Everyone, well,
you.
you visit to Sonoma County and come to Amista and Marimar's.